Hey, beautiful people. Welcome back to SoulSync, where we talk real, raw, and relatable. Today's video is a little different. We're diving deeper than the surface and into the soul. Because you know what really wins a girl over? Emotional green flags. The quiet things that tell her, he's different, he's safe, I can trust him. A lot of people talk about red flags, but green flags are just as important. They're the signs that tell her this guy has done the inner work. That he's emotionally aware, mature, and not afraid of connection. So if you want to know what girls really notice on an emotional level, stay with me till the end. 1. He communicates clearly instead of playing games. A guy who says what he means and means what he says, that's a rare kind of attractive. Girls notice when a guy doesn't leave them confused or overthinking. If you like her, you say it. If something's off, you express it calmly. That kind of emotional clarity makes her feel safe and respected. No guessing, no mind games. It doesn't mean you have to overshare or say everything perfectly. It just means you're not hiding behind mixed signals or silence. When a guy chooses honesty, even in awkward moments, that shows emotional strength. It tells her you're not afraid of real connection, and that's when trust starts to build. He's in tune with his own emotions. One of the biggest green flags is a guy who understands his own emotional world. Girls love a man who knows how to name his feelings. Like, I'm feeling overwhelmed, or I'm a little anxious today. It sounds simple, but that self-awareness shows you're emotionally intelligent and not bottling everything up. It also creates space for her to be open too. When you're emotionally in tune with yourself, you're better at recognizing how others feel too. That emotional awareness builds deeper conversations, better conflict resolution, and stronger connection overall. It's not soft, it's powerful. 3. He doesn't get defensive during tough conversations. When something goes wrong or there's a disagreement, a huge green flag is how you react. If you don't get defensive, start yelling or try to flip the blame. She notices that. A guy who stays calm, listens, and tries to understand instead of attack. That's a big deal. It shows that you can handle uncomfortable moments without letting your ego take over. And more importantly, it means the relationship doesn't turn toxic during hard times. Girls feel safe around a guy who can talk through things like an adult, not someone who shuts down or explodes when things get real. 4. He validates her feelings, even if he doesn't fully agree. A guy who says, I get why you'd feel that way, instead of, you're overreacting. Green flag. That one line can completely shift the energy in a conversation. Girls don't always want you to fix things. Most of the time, they just want to feel understood. Validation doesn't mean you always agree. It means you respect her emotional reality, that you're listening, not judging. When a guy gives her space to feel without making her feel too much, she feels safe opening up more. And emotional safety leads to deeper connection, every time. 5. He expresses appreciation often, not just during big moments. Girls love a guy who notices the little things. Saying I appreciate you for always listening or thanks for texting me good luck today may sound small, but it has a big emotional impact. It shows that you're not taking her for granted and that you see her effort. Appreciation creates emotional warmth, and it keeps the connection alive. You don't have to buy gifts or make grand gestures. Just recognizing what she brings to your life builds emotional closeness. It tells her you're emotionally present, and that makes her want to stay close. 6. He doesn't treat vulnerability as weakness. A major green flag? A guy who opens up emotionally, even if it's just a little. When you say, I had a rough day, or this really hurt me, you're not being weak. You're being human. And girls admire that more than you think. It shows trust, courage, and emotional depth. When a guy can be soft without shame, it makes her feel more connected. It gives her permission to open up too. And instead of a surface-level relationship where everyone's pretending to be strong all the time, you create something real. Vulnerability is intimacy, and that's where real love begins. He sets emotional boundaries instead of avoiding or ghosting. Ghosting? Immature. Avoiding hard talks? Also immature. But when a guy says, I need some space to process this, or I'm not ready for this kind of connection right now, that's emotional responsibility. Girls notice when you're able to set boundaries with kindness instead of disappearing. It shows respect, both for her and yourself. Boundaries aren't walls. their clarity. And when you express them gently, it creates emotional trust even if the connection doesn't continue. That kind of honesty stays with her, because emotional maturity like that, it's rare. 8. He gives emotional support without always needing to be the fixer. Sometimes she just needs someone to listen, not to jump in with solutions, not to try and fix everything, just someone to sit with her through it. A guy who can say, "That sounds really hard, I'm here for you," without trying to solve it all. Emotional gold. Girls notice when you hold space. It tells her you're emotionally available and that you're not uncomfortable with her feelings. Being that steady emotional anchor, even just by listening, makes you unforgettable. Because in a world of people who rush or dismiss, you stayed. 9. He owns his triggers instead of projecting them. We all have past wounds, but a guy who says, "This situation reminded me of something I've struggled with before," instead of snapping or blaming, that shows deep self-awareness. Girls are drawn to men who own their emotional patterns and try to grow from them. It creates emotional safety because it means you're not unpredictable. She knows that even when things get tense, you're not going to lash out randomly. You're working on yourself, and that kind of emotional accountability, that's rare, mature, and incredibly attractive. 10. He stays consistent even when emotions get complicated. It's easy to be sweet when everything's smooth. But emotional green flags shine during the complicated moments, when feelings are confusing, when there's tension, or when someone pulls away. If a guy remains kind, grounded, and emotionally steady through it all, girls notice. Consistency builds trust. It tells her you're emotionally available not just when it's convenient, but even when it's messy. That's what makes someone relationship material, not perfection, but emotional reliability. The guy who stays consistent, he's the one she remembers. So my beautiful people, those were the emotional green flags that girls really notice and cherish. It's not about being perfect or always having the right words. It's about being present, honest, and emotionally grounded. That's the kind of guy who builds trust, respect, and real love. If any of these green flags sound like you, keep showing up that way. If there are things you're still working on, that's beautiful too. Growth is attractive. Comment below, what's an emotional green flag you value most in someone? Let's get real in the comments and keep building this amazing SoulSync community. Like, share, subscribe if this resonated, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay kind, stay connected, and most of all, stay emotionally real. Love y'all.